One of those misconceptions about AI is that we're getting to a point where we're simulating consciousness. For example, sim theory, the simulation theory that we actually live in a simulation, or that we may be creating a simulation and we may be the originating reality. All of that stuff, which has been debunked by real scientists, I think. Just go on YouTube and look at debunking sim theory. I think it's based on this idea that we're simulating human consciousness. And the truth is, we don't know what consciousness is. One reason is that we are the conscious thing trying to decipher consciousness. If we were on the outside and we were looking at human consciousness as something different, we might be able to find attributes of it, but we're using the consciousness to define the consciousness, which is a huge problem. The other problem is we don't really have the tools at this point to kind of conceptualize what consciousness is. We don't have the evidence, we don't have the clues, we don't have the pathway to get in there and really see it. The third problem is something that I've identified over and over again. And this problem is, simply put, and this is the best way to say it, we are already AI. So I know that's kind of a postmodern, sticky thing to say, but my claim that we live in a rote knowledge world, which means we overvalue memorization, we throw it around like it's wisdom, we act like we're smart when we have data rather than we know what to do with the data. So that rote stage that we're in as humans, and the fact that we've taken that rote system, what we call computers, and overextended it, has actually made us the AI. AI is not consciousness, it's got nothing to do with consciousness. We have intelligence on one end and AI on the other. And that's really what I've been saying this whole time about Rote V Process. But what AI is the extension of a computer's abilities. And a computer's abilities are simply just to follow the rules of computer code. There's nothing else they can do because the infrastructure in a computer is something we built. And we don't know what the infrastructure of consciousness is. We have no way to really conceptualize what that infrastructure is. For the reasons I've already explained, the fact that we're too far in it, we are it, and the fact that we're not that smart, and the fact that we don't have all the information. But we think that the AI infrastructure is what we want. We see memorization as the end all be all, and we just try to improve on it as it is over and over and over until we push it into what? Wisdom? It's not on the path to wisdom. It'll never get to smart. It doesn't even have that teleology at all. It's not even a part of it. See, that's teleology. So the fact that we miss the distinction between memorization and wisdom means that we're not even looking in the right place. As technology advances, we're moving toward that conclusion, which is to be computers. We're wasting our time trying to make computers like us, and ultimately we're making us like computers. And so I know that's kind of ironic and it's kind of confusing because I just confused myself, and that's unsystematic philosophy. And then sometimes I confuse myself, which is not that hard to do. And then I forget things, which is super easy to do. But do you see how those qualities of consciousness are the things that get in the way? Like, we already have brains that aren't that great. So if we're trying to push them in the direction of AI, we're already taking something, consciousness, pushing it over to AI. It's not built for AI. It forgets things. It sees things that aren't there. It remembers things incorrectly. And it has a kind of emotional core. That emotional core makes human consciousness have a desire, have a kind of goal that is faith. Faith is substance from nothingness. And I don't mean that that substance is good or beneficial or real. I just mean we see substance in nothingness. So in order to make something faithable, we have to reduce it to nothingness, which is why we don't in science, because there's too much data and there's too much stuff that's not nothing. There's too many concrete components to science. But in philosophy, we've infused it with faith. And so the whole debate that I have with atheists about how they're religious is really just that atheists have accepted faith. They don't know it, and they would argue to the death about this idea. But the truth is, without living in the process world, which nobody does, including Neil deGrasse Tyson, who accepts sim theory. I have no idea why. Great guy, super personable, everyone L-words him, and he has tons of data in his head. But he's stuck in that rote system, like everyone is, and they can't see out of it. And it just keeps going. It just keeps self-perpetuating. And we've kind of developed, I think I had a thread that I lost, by the way. We literally have advanced AI technology, especially in terms of ourselves, to the extent that we've created a sim city. And the more we build upon that, the less we see what the alternative was, which was wisdom. And so I'm equating wisdom with process knowledge, and they're not exactly the same thing, but they're generally equatable. Like, I can generally say, if you don't have process knowledge, you're not wise. I can generally say that. And so I'm trying to start at the beginning with critical common sense. First, define philosophy. Philosophy is the business of impenetrable questions. It just doesn't have any answers at all. They're not possible. But I'm going to ask it anyway. That's philosophy. And as a side note, I get that that's what smart religious people are doing, is trying to say that their God concept fits into that schema. And it doesn't. But that's another show. So first, what is philosophy? Impenetrable questions. Philosophy questions are impenetrable, like free will. Do we have free will? Right now, we have no idea what consciousness is, what free will is, what reality even is. Then we moved on to rote versus process knowledge. So the distinction between the two, this is almost like a Whitehead thing. It's not about the rote, and it's not about the process. It's about the middle. We have rote, memorization, process, wisdom, and then we have the middle concept, which is a clear distinction between the two. And that's what I'm saying we don't have. Without the distinction, you also don't have an emphasis on process, so no one knows what it is, but that's a separate question. We all understand memorization. Memorization is the path to AI. All computers do is memorize. That's it. They memorize and then spit those memories back out. And those memories are constrained by the parameters of computer code, which are invented by people who aren't that smart. They have no wisdom. So who's going to even move the AI conversation over to process? Because right now it was never there. It's never going to be there. As far as I can tell, I can't see the future. But the distinction between memorizing and knowing, between data and wisdom and philosophy, the distinction between those two things is the core, and that's the thing we're really talking about, is the question about the distinction. And that question reveals that we don't understand the distinction on an elementary level. We don't know that the two things are even separate. We're in the Plato's cave of AI data, and we don't see wisdom. And so we don't know that we need to get it, and we don't know what the world would look like with it. And we don't know what kind of leaders we would elect if we went that direction and started considering this idea that our consciousness is built for wisdom, and the more we attain that process status, right, the more we attain it, the closer we get then to a different kind of civilization, because this one's a joke. We can all agree on that. There's good things about it, and there's bad things about it. We have all these new World War III scenarios, which are kind of a reality, which are extremely negative. But on the other hand, we have Neil deGrasse Tyson, which is super positive. And I'm not saying positive for me, I'm just saying he's a positive dude with some positive ideas, with a kind of Freudian optimism. I know Freud, the optimist, but he is. We've talked about what is philosophy, we've talked about rote versus process knowledge, and we have over the past week tried to explore the history of actual common sense. We've distinguished between common sense, which is things as they appear to us in the world that we all agree on. We have tried to clarify the difference between really basic common sense, like don't put your hand in the fire, and critical common sense, which got erased. So that's it for this particular lecture. I'm going to try to color it up, but thanks for watching.